Cards, I just want to say Brisulph is probably going to be Rookie of the Year in this tournament, quite like Ichiro was Rookie of the Year in his first MLB season. Not much of a rookie.
Yeah, but can you really call Brisulph a rookie? I mean, yes, this is his first tournament, but can you really give him rookie eligibility when he's been doing this for so many years?
I guess that is an entirely fair point, Card.
Absolutely, but music and gaming is going to have his work cut out against the world record holder. But anything can happen in this fickle game that we call Super Smash TV. I did see that music and gaming was practicing hard earlier today, so hopefully he got some good reps in before we get started with our first best of five matchup.
I have to say, Cards, it's going to be quite interesting to see what Music and Gaming is going to bring to the table. I believe he was a last-minute sub for another player, so I'm not too familiar with him at all. We could be in for a much closer race than anticipated between the 1 and 32 seeds.
Yep, absolutely. Of course, the time starts when both of these runners hit their buttons. The time is finished when the screen fades to black at the end of the Mutoid Man fight. So I'm going to get both runners. I'm going to ask if both runners are ready, and then we'll get started with our first game.
Very good, Cards. I am excited to get things underway tonight. Looks like we'll be underway in just a moment here. And in the meantime, I just want to advertise to everyone we have one match tomorrow night at 9 Eastern, and we have a four-pack Thursday evening. That would definitely be worth turning into.
Absolutely. It looks like we have a little bit of a delay on music and gaming side, but we'll get them both in sync in just a few moments. Here we go. Game number one between the world record holder Brisulph and music and gaming. Here we go. Both of them do have their Razor Shield drops. A foot for Brisulph. Music and gaming, there's a grenade. Both, of course, are going to ignore those drops. Jack.
Absolutely, Cards fan. Most of the drops in the first room you're not particularly interested in. You just want to get that manip going so you can get that Razor Shield. It certainly helps taking out some of these grunts early on. And looks like Bry is going to get out just a hair under 40 and should be about a 42 for Music and Gaming.
About a 3-second deficit. We'll see how this plays out. Opening drop means everything here in collect power-ups. First drop for Brisulph is a smart bomb to give himself a little breather. Invulnerability for music and gaming, that's a good drop when you don't have an orb. Speaking of invulnerability, Brisulph gets one of his own.
Rockets now for Bry, grenades for Music and Gaming. Little lopsided there. Another smart bomb for Bry. Bry's just going to grab everything in sight. I know him. He wants to force an early orb here, Cards fan.
Now, orb is key because it enables you to double the attack power that comes out of your weapons. Of course, on the flip side of that is if you do pick up a weapon, it does exhaust your clip twice as fast.
Brian getting out of collect power-ups with a very slick 119. That's the power of Vitamin R. Music and Gaming struggling a little bit to get out of collect power-ups here.
Yeah, just not getting any drops at all. We're seeing a lot of grenades, and there's an orb for Brisulph here and Eat My Shrapnel. Of course, we have to take down 18 of the Mr. Shrapnels in order to clear the room, but only 4 can be on the room at any given time. Oh, this is a great drop here for Brisulph. He's going to wait until as long as possible because he's going to use these rockets, take down the last of the shrapnel dudes, and he's going to have a lot of this clip here to start total carnage.
Oh yeah, Bry getting some really great drops here. Orb inside of the shrapnel room is always ideal. It's not a difficult room to control. You have lots of time to force drops there. Music and Gaming still picking away at the shrapnel room. No orb, unfortunately, but able to make some decent use out of a couple grenade drops to at least keep the shrapnels from reaching 4 on screen, which is the maximum allowed by the game.
Absolutely. The drops have just been absolutely heinous, as Brisulph would say, for Music and Gaming. Finally, it gets a good drop in some Vitamin R. Nope, that was not the end of the room. That's actually the end of the shrapnels. He actually got all the shrapnels down before the foot soldiers. You rarely see that, Jack.
It's just a matter of what the drops were. If you're not getting an orb or lots of rockets, if you're focusing on the shrapnels, you might have a few foot soldiers left to take out. Bry entering the secret room at a very robust 253. He's on a fantastic pace here in this opening matchup cards.
If he keeps this up, he could break the all-time tournament record of a 541, I believe, by Deller in just the first race alone. By the way, Music and Gaming, we have, looks like he had accidentally paused his timer somewhere along the line, but the way Brisulph's going, it may not matter at this point as we now enter tank trouble.
Bry dancing with the devil here a little bit. No drops to help him get rid of those gunners, so he's just going to kind of dance around some bullets in the middle, try to keep the swarmers under control. Gets killed going for the smart bomb. I can just imagine the screaming going on in the Sulfur residence right now, Cards fan.
Yeah, that's definitely not what he wanted to see if he wanted to try to break even sub 6 for this match. This has been a rough tank trouble for Brisulph. Just not been getting any good weapon drops. Music gets some Vitamin R here, and there's the swirl of shame in Total Carnage.
Yeah, the swirl of shame and the orb disappearing from Music and Gaming, not going the way he would like things to at all early on, but it is only game 1. We do play 5 games cards. Brian enters the boss room at 413, a very respectable Mutoid entry.
Absolutely, a sub 6 definitely in play for Brisulph, and if he gets really lucky, a new tournament record is possible. Having some rockets. Oh, look at this opening drop.
The first drop is exactly what you want to see. A spreader in a prime location. This will be at least a 4.5 of damage for Bry here.
Yep. That is going to be one arm. Both arms are down.
Both arms with a little bit of sneaky manual action afterwards. Grenades will add a little bit there, picks up a foot, so that's going to slow him down a little bit here. And now an invulnerability. Of course, Mutoid never gives the drops when you're on a fantastic pace. Meanwhile, Music and Gaming getting to work inside tank trouble here. Has the turrets gone right away. There's a tank causing him grief on the side there, but that invulnerability should help him clear the room out. Now, rockets.
Ooh, look at
Brisulph Gaming, so he can get this room under control now, and hopefully can try to make something. Head pops for Bry, though. What final form? What a spreader!
I don't know if he got enough transfer damage, but if he did, we could be talking about a new tournament record. I think he's going to try it.
I think that's it, Cards. The head was off at 529. That should barely beat Deller's 541 from a couple years ago.
Oh, no, he missed
it.
He missed it by a second. Oh, 542 for Brisulph, the second fastest time in tournament history in just his first go-around, Jack.
Well, that's a very impressive, Cards fan, and for all the folks watching, you can see why Bry elected to host the tournament the first 4 years. As far as raw skill goes, it's hard to compare with Mr. Brian Sulfur in this game.
If he just would have had better drops in tank trouble, we're talking sub 530. I mean, that's how good the run was otherwise.
Oh, absolutely. A couple empty drops in Mutoid Man after that first initial spreader as well, not exactly helping the cause there. Execution-wise, everything was absolutely on point. Everything going fantastically for Brisulph in Game 1 of this best of 5 set. Meanwhile, Music and Gaming gonna finish out the run, and I think this is the correct play cards. You want to get in as much practice as you can, especially on the boss here. But if you're Music and Gaming, you see Bry type done before you even step into the boss room. That cannot be very confidence-inspiring.
Oh,
and he gets tag going for the invulnerability with so much spreader ammo.
That would have been great
unfortunate
damage there for Music, and he's getting penalized to the max now, Jack.
Yeah, the game knows, as you like to say, Cards, 2 empty drops, at least a lobber to work with here. Looks like Music and Gaming does know to aim for that little brown chest plate below Mutoid's head. That's where you get the most damage out of the lobbers, so that will help him to at least get a form and a bit out of that lobber clip.
You're right about that, Jack. What Music and Gamer was trying to do, well, he's going to get to this spreader, but he'll have to use a continue first. What Music and Gamer was trying to do was he saw the invulnerability, stopped shooting, was trying to pick it up, gets picked off by, well, he's got some form changes there. I don't think he's going to get to that lobber.
Lobber will unfortunately disappear, taking the death, trying to maximize the spreader damage there, but does get 2 forms out of that one spreader. Or perhaps a form and a half, and it was simply close to changing at first, but definitely useful. Gets run over going for the grenade refill now, but will get it.
Yeah, what he was trying to do is, the invulnerability, if he would have picked that up with still some of that clip left, he could have continued to jam that into Mutoid. Man, that's exactly the proper play that you want to do. Just got very unlucky with that shrapnel.
Absolutely, Cards. Honestly, it's not as if Music and Gaming really had much to go for in drops on this particular run. It seems like some of the basic knowledge is there, so I'd like to see what Music and Gaming could do if the game, actually gives him that orb and collect power-ups, sprinkles a few rockets here and there. I don't think this is a really accurate display of what Music and Gaming is capable of skill-wise right now.
Oh, not at all. I mean, he got really bad drops as Mutoid Man does go down for Music and Gaming. Didn't get the orb until very late. I think it just comes down to what I've been saying for much of this tournament already. If he can clean up his Arena 1 play, I think he'll be just fine.
Well, with that, Game 1 is officially under the way, Cards, and you can put it on the board!
Yes! I'm sure once Brisulph and I do some matches together, you'll be hearing a few more of that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how the matches went over the weekend as I was visiting some family and unable to participate, but I definitely know we need to work that in here just a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, family does come first. I totally agree with you there, especially on Easter weekend. But yeah, for those of you who did not see any of the action Saturday night, we had not one, but 2 different races go into the booth for a photo finish review. It was insane.
Wow, that's impressive. One of them had to have been E.T. Go Ham against Aquas, right?
Not E.T. Go Ham versus Aquas, but Zexy versus Aquas.
Oh,
E.T.
right,
Go
that's
Ham
what
was
it was.
against Lucia Jim. That one was also a photo finish.
Very interesting stuff. Can't wait to see the highlights when I have a little bit more time, perhaps later tonight. But as for right now, folks, looks like we are just about ready to get underway with game number 2.
Yep, I will ask the runners if they are ready, and if so, we can begin game number 2.
Going over the schedule, I misspoke earlier. Looks like we have 2 matches tomorrow night, 1 match Wednesday night, and then the 4-pack on Thursday. So a lot of Smash TV action still going to be happening here pretty much all week long at GG_speedruns. Make sure to follow this channel if you haven't already, and sit back and witness total carnage.
Absolutely, and both runners are now underway here for game number 2 of the Smash TV tournament between Brisulph and Music Gaming first round. Both of them have their Razor Shields. Here we go.
So one thing that you can see that's a little different between the two here, Brian immediately went over to the right door. And the simple thing is, as long as you land your first few shots against those swarmers, there'll always be a couple guys that come into that right door. So once you pick up your Razor Shield, you can head right over there for a couple of quick kills and then worry about controlling the center and trying to catch any stragglers with your Razor Shield.
And that's what's making that 3-second difference in these rooms. Brisulph with yet another 39. And look at this, the rich getting richer, the RNG favoring the favorites here, Jack. And look at this!
But no, first drop orb as well for Music and Gaming. Only because Music and Gaming was a little behind did it look like the rich were getting richer, but no, the game wants us to have a fair match with both players at their maximum firepower cards.
Absolutely, but ooh, yeah, things are getting tight there for Music and Gaming. Loses his orb kind of late. Brisulph, is that a 115 going into this room? Did I read that right?
You did read that correctly, Cards fan. Bry making absolute mincemeat out of the game so far tonight. And now has rockets. Grenades on the feet, unfortunate, but if it's going to happen, this is the room you'd like to have it in. This room is effectively on a timer. If you have an orb, it is not difficult to exit the room optimally.
Certainly here. Yeah, 115. I say anything that's under a 120 is a hot time. That's a super spicy hot time that Brisulph just got there. My goodness, 115. You rarely see that.
That is some ghost pepper flavored Vindaloo cards.
Sub 2 into total carnage. So Brisulph on a really good pace. Let's see if he can get some good weapons to go with that orb. Key's not going to help him out.
Weapons are nice on Total Carnage, but I think Bry would be happiest with a Razor Shield, because then he only has to really worry about 3 doors. The way Bry and some other top players play this room, if you have the Razor Shield, is to just use the low arc of the sweep to take care of anything coming out that bottom door.
No replacement orb for Music and Gaming, and another key for Brisulph.
At least the keys are coming with an orb already in possession, so they are more a nuisance than an outright aggravation.
Third key of total carnage. I mean, he's still going to be sub 3, but he'd have been in sub 250 if he'd gotten any weapon drops. I mean, 251 with literally nothing, Jack.
All you need is an orb if you're as talented as Bry to get these kind of hot times going through. Music and Gaming doing a very admirable job here to try to keep things even. Gets an orb, a spreader, and now a Razor Shield, so sitting in a pretty good spot to at least finish up Total Carnage here in a reasonable time compared to the first race where we saw that unfortunate swirl of shame.
Ooh, another Razor Shield here to start tank trouble. Brisulph, and going to use the Smart Bomb to his advantage. Oh, those are some great drops.
Absolutely, Cards fan. Smart Bomb is an instant get in that room, no matter what the situation. The spawn rate on the swarmers is so high in Total Carnage that it's basically impossible for a human, even with an orb, to keep up with it. The only time you don't want a Smart Bomb in that room is if you're packing some rockets.
Respectable 340 going into the bonus room for Music and Gaming. They have Brisulph. He is going to be almost sub 4 going into Mutoid, man. 4 flat.
4 flat going into Mutoid. If Brian gets the fastest Mutoid man in history, this could be a world record run.
Yeah,
I'm not exactly holding my breath on the luck required for that.
No, he would if he were to get that. Well, with a star like that, that's not really going to fly. If he only gets a 100-second Mutoid man fight, he'll still set a record. Starting off with lobbers, though.
Lobber's a decent damage-dealing weapon, but not the most optimal. Bry loses his orb on the arm, so I don't think that that's going to deal any damage too far away from the chassis. Music, meanwhile, fighting through tank trouble, was able to at least get a Smart Bomb early after losing the orb to take care of the turrets, and now the Razor Shield will help quite a bit, but still a lot of ground to make up against Bry, who is about to pop the second arm on Mutoid. Rockets for Music will probably be enough to finish this room, I think, though.
Absolutely, but again, the drop's just not there for Brisulph, so it doesn't look like he's going to get a tournament record unless he gets a spreader right about now. Instead, he gets invulnerability. So many empty drops in this Mutoid man fight for Brisulph, just not there.
Well, at least a spreader right after that invulnerability, so you can at least get a little bit of free damage in there. Bry, trying the manual, is at least able to get some shots in there. Another spreader, Mutoid's parking on it, but he moves out of the way. Bry's going to be able to get this, so this will just about finish off Mutoid Man here during the form change.
I will say this much for Brisulph there. Oh, and he gets run over trying to get those lobbers. He's not going to be able to get to it. He's going to be cut off.
Yeah, Mutoid denying Bry another sub 6, but I think these rockets should be enough to finish it off. Yes, there it is. It's not quite going to be a sub 6 for Bry, but it's going to be about a 6:03 or so. Very, very nice time, all the same.
Oh, Music and
Credit
Gaming
for
has a
music,
lot
I
of
think
distance.
it's a
Can he get to it?
little too far away.
Yeah, too far away. If he would have gotten zapped a little bit sooner, he'd have been there. 6:03 for Brisulph.
6:03, a very good time. That is going to win probably 90% of all tournament races. So I have to ask you, Cards, and for all of those watching us here right now, how afraid are you of Brisulph if you get matched up against this madman? Do you think you can even take a game from him the way he's played these first couple races?
A lot of the newcomers are probably going to be intimidated by Brisulph. I mean, if you have a matchup, yourself, who's a sub 6 runner and a 2-time runner up in their own right, CHX. I'll tell you what, though. I have been praising him since we revealed brackets, Jackamus. I'm telling you right now, the French connection is going to give Brisulph some problems. Oopla. He is lowering his time like crazy right now.
I think Opla posted like a 5:32 earlier today, if I read that correctly.
He lowered his PB again. My goodness gracious! I mean, he's what, top 5 or something?
Yeah, definitely looking like rookie of the year so far is Oopla. Assuming we're not counting Brian as the Ichiro of this tournament, of course.
Well, I'm looking at it. If he got a 5:32, if it's lower than 5:32.898, which is Prince Leaf's time, that's good for 4th place.
That is ridiculous for such a new runner.
Unfortunately for Music and Gaming, the weapon drops have just not been there, and Mutoid Man's doing Mutoid Man things as well. That never helps.
No, definitely not. Bry's had a few empty drops on Mutoid, but for the most part has had some pretty nice drops. Luck can often decide a lot of these races. You have to wonder if Bry gets a bad streak of drops on Mutoid, and if Music can just keep that orb, if he might be able to make a race out of the next game, maybe even steal a game with a little bit of luck.
Now, I don't know what Music and Gaming's PB is. It says 9:11, but that is not his PB. I saw him earlier this afternoon. I saw him post a low 8. So if he gets a 7, that might be a PB.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it unfolds. But that is officially the end of game number 2, Cards, and you can put it on the board.
Yes!
So 2 games underway out of this potentially 5-game set. Bry taking the first 2 races fairly handily. Music and Gaming has their work even more cut out for them if they are going to somehow stay alive in the top half of the bracket here. Otherwise, it'll be to the second chance lower half of the bracket. This is a double elimination tournament. So you are allowed to run into a tough opponent, maybe take a loss, but if you can make a run on the lower half, improve as you go, you never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely, here. And we're getting word that the PB that Music and Gaming got earlier today actually was a 7:54. So cutting the 8-minute barrier today. And, the way he's been playing, I wouldn't be surprised if he cut that again. So I'm going to get these runners, ask them if they're ready, and we'll turn them loose.
I'd like to see Music and Gaming get like a nice sub 730 or so. I think if Music can just keep that orb at least up until Tank Trouble where things get completely crazy and get a couple drops at Mutoid, I think there's a real shot for that.
Absolutely. I have turned the runners both loose. They're going to be getting started in the next few moments.
Good luck. You'll need it.
They most certainly will here. So here we go. Game number 3 between Brisulph and MusicNGaming here. If Brisulph wins, he will move on to the second round of the winner's bracket. Here we go with Arena 1. Both of them have their Razor Shield, and again, Brisulph taking advantage of the right door strats.
Exactly, cards. Just a couple easy, guaranteed kills. Theoretically, if you were able to mimic your movements every time, you could do this first room completely predictably, but the amount of frame-precise movements is probably too much for a human. Bri gonna get out of here at a robust 39, yet again, and looks like MusicNGaming is gonna get out at a 43.
Yeah, both runners have been consistent in their first arena. Yeah, Brisulph turning in 39 all 3 of his matches so far. First drop is a foot, nothing to write home about for Brisulph. MusicNGaming gets an vulnerability again. Good drop when you do not have an orb.
Good drop if you don't have an orb. MusicNGaming could use it a little more aggressively. Try to just camp a door, but MusicNGaming picks up an orb in front of the door. Bri also gets his orb. MusicNGaming now just needs to get the room under control. These rockets will do it. So this is looking a lot better for MusicNGaming so far. Bri's going to exit the room at about a 123. Late smart bomb for MusicNGaming is going to slow the spawn rate down a bit. Going to at least have some rockets to start the next room with.
That's actually Brisulph's worst time going into Eat My Shrapnel. He had been sub 80 the first 2, which just goes to show the drops really weren't there for Brisulph, even though he did get that orb.
It was, the orb came a couple drops late into the room and no rockets cards. Those are the primo drops, at least in that room.
Speaking of primo drops, there's the Vitamin R. Unfortunately, MusicNGaming dropping his orb. He will get a Razor Shield.
Razor Shield is not a bad pickup if you've lost an orb in this room. It can at least take care of the swarmers while you're busy focused on the shrapnels. Shrapnels typically the most important enemies to take out to get through this room optimally.
Oh, Brisulph almost lost his orb there to one of those swarmers, but he does get another set of rockets. Oh, but grenades on the feet.
Grenades on the feet, unfortunate, but at least it's a room with a higher spawn rate, so the enemies are going to typically be a little closer to the center than in some of the earlier rooms.
Nice use of the smart bomb there to give Brisulph a breather. An orb back for MusicNGaming with the spreader.
Oh no, he gets egged by the shrapnel just when he had everything under control in the room. That is so unfortunate.
This. I hate to see it there, Jackamus. Brisulph still with the Razor Shield, controlling that middle. Going to use that smart bomb. Was that the end of the room? Oh, it was. Look at that timing. 255 into the bonus room.
Brilliant smart bomb by Bri there, Cards fan. Timed that perfectly. I don't even think the last enemy got out of the door. That was just years of experience at play right there. You can just feel when the room is over.
Razor Shield for MusicNGaming. So again, he'll be able to at least control the middle for the time being, but he would like to get some weapon drops to go with it. Tank trouble for Brisulph. Let's see what his opening drop's going to be. A foot. Not really what he wanted to see there. He was hoping for rockets, and then follows that up with a dude.
Yeah, these are not the drops you want to see early on in tank trouble. Bri taking out one gunner and is just going to focus on the swarmers here now until the game gives him something. Of course, the middle becomes a little more dangerous. It's a risk-reward play, but there's the smart bomb, and that'll get rid of Bri's second turret.
That's actually his best drop of the room so far. I mean, these drops, as Brisulph would say, have been absolute hot garbage.
Absolute hot garbage, yes, Cards, but Bri has a pretty significant lead right now over MusicNGaming, who has entered the bonus room at about a 350, so we've got about a 1 minute gap. Bri enters Mutoid Man at 408, another fantastic entry.
Another chance if he can pull a 92-second Mutoid Man or less. He's going to have a little bit of spreader. He might use it on the gunners. No, he's going to use it on the swirl. I can't blame him. Starting off with a lobber. It's a good, solid opening drop. He's looking, of course, for that spreader.
And Bri lands the orb damage. That's 180 damage, which is almost half of a form's worth. You see the nice patience there. Stop shooting the lobber so he can line that orb up and get that damage in. Very professional move.
Yeah, that's a very, very difficult move to pull off. Very few have done it in tournament play. Brisulph with another lobber, following that up with a rocket. Still looking for that spreader. It just hasn't come yet. More vitamin R. MusicNGaming at the 5-minute mark. There's a spreader. Brisulph, this is a great spot. Can he get to it? He will. Here we go.
This is going to chop off a form and a half or more. 2 forms now, still plugging away, trying to land a few manual shots. Not quite. There is barely any health left in this penultimate form for Mutoid.
But he got an empty drop.
Just to deny Bry the tournament record yet again. These grenades will put Bry onto the final form. Picks up a lobber. That clip won't quite be enough for the final form, but there's a replacement lobber. As long as Bry can get that weapon, this will finish off this match.
But he can't get to it because Trolltoid Man does what Trolltoid Man does best. Now he gets a spreader when it doesn't really matter. And yeah, oh, this is close, but I think he just missed sub 6.
It's going to be quite close, Cards fan. It'll be either a high 559 or 6 on the dot.
Yeah, it's going to be 601, maybe a high 6. But again, GG to Brisulph. He wins the match, and we'll be moving on to the second round. What a performance.
What a performance indeed, Cards fan. We had a 542, a 603, and now a 601 from our world record holder. Utter dominance. A beautiful spreader here for
yeah,
Music
this is
and
great, but he
Gaming.
went away, man. Mutoid Man just not giving MusicNGaming any breaks whatsoever. There's another spreader, and he should be able to get to it unless...
No, Mutoid parked on it. No.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Come on, get off, get off, get off.
Get out of the way.
Oh, you scoofball. Ugh.
And right before the intentional death to get that first spreader, MusicNGaming got a couple manual shots in there too.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, MusicNGaming, had a good chance to PB it, but if he can get another spreader, he still could. Again, 754 is the PB that he recorded earlier today. There's a spreader. I think he may have seen it.
That's gettable.
Yeah, he'll get it.
Just keep pounding. Oh no! Sabotage! On the feet!
You gotta be bleeping me, as Hawk Harrelson would say.
Oh my lord, that had final form written all over it. The game is a cruel, cruel mistress, Cards fan.
Oh, it most certainly is. Mutoid Man doing Mutoid Man figs yet again to MusicNGaming. I was just about to say, if that's a spreader right there, that's just cruel and unusual punishment from the game right there.
Good news is here, these rockets should finish it off. I don't think it's going to be enough for a PB. No, the PB just ticked away on the clock. But all things considered, oh no, he gets tagged by a shrapnel.
And you know exactly what's coming up next. Well, yeah, he blocked. Well, not exactly what I was thinking was going to happen. I thought he was going to get an empty drop, but it was a sat-on drop, so it might as well have been an empty drop. But there goes Mutoid Man. MusicNGaming put up a good effort, but when you're going up against someone like Brisulph, you pretty much need 10 Hail Marys.
I would say about 10, maybe 9, if you really, really, raise your hands to the heavens and absorb everyone's karma. But yeah, it was 1 versus 32, but I have to say MusicNGaming did not play like a 32 seed. MusicNGaming actually did pretty good for someone who just picked the game up a week ago.
Yeah, no question about it. And we'll definitely see him back. He does go to the bottom half of the bracket. Brisulph will be moving on to the second round of the winner's bracket. So a big GG to him. And again, 1 second away from the tournament record. But I'm telling you, Deller's 541. I'm calling it right now. No way it's standing. It's going to go down sometime.